Why does he need to keep it? Well, his attorneys say that he's not acting in reckless abandon by holding this off. That's a quote from the prosecution. He's using sound business judgment by understanding that he cannot afford or legally maintain two properties. And here is the business judgment. So if he's forced to sell his Florida condo, then he would be forced to incur expenses for alternative housing. Quote, surely the committee does not intend Mr. Giuliani to join the ranks of the homeless. No, we expect you to buy a place that doesn't cost $6 million or $3 million, but they found that to be persuasive. But more importantly, it's this. The filing states that Mr. Giuliani uses both of his residencies to operate his podcast business, citing that each home has a studio. He will, quote, need a place to operate the podcast from if he wants to earn money. That money would only serve to benefit creditors. So you can't make him sell the Palm Beach condo because he records his stupid podcast there and maybe even some cameos. You could never record a podcast from anywhere that doesn't have a dedicated podcast recording studio, obviously. So that's his argument. Now I'm gonna throw out one other thing that they're considering to try to get him to be able to pay what he owes, Brett, before you comment. Rudy Giuliani is apparently owed millions of dollars for the legal services that he provided to Donald Trump during the 2020 election and afterward. And that has never been paid. Trump refuses to pay Giuliani, but they are considering forcing Giuliani to sue Donald Trump to get that money. As of right now, Giuliani says that he will never sue Donald Trump, but that is a possible option. What do you think?
This is amazing. Like, replace Rudy Giuliani with someone who still lives in their parents' house and refuses to get evicted. It's the same thing. It's like he's just arguing he doesn't want to be a grown-up and do real world accounting. That's it. That's what they're so mad about. They're not mad about the law. They're not mad about having to pay the consequence. They're mad about having to play by the same rules everybody else has to play by. Like, if you get in trouble for what you did as a person and you have to pay some kind of financial penalty, you don't get to keep your house. You do risk getting homeless. Rudy Giuliani is like, I've been on Saturday Night Live. I can't fathom having to be held accountable for my financial and legal actions. And it's so sad. And to what extent do you have to be totally, I don't know if there's a better word, but just straight up cucked by Donald Trump that you can't take action to get paid for the services you rendered to him. And you'd rather risk being homeless. This guy took down the mob, and now a version of a mobster is absolutely responsible for his demise.
100%. Yeah, it definitely has that energy of what you were talking about. Like, when Trump, is facing a $470 million judgment, and they're like, well, how is he gonna pay for that? He would have to sell some of his buildings.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, you owe money. That's how it works. They really are. They're not grown up, they're old, but they're babies. They're just babies. They've never really existed in the real world, particularly Trump. Rudy Giuliani at least had a job as a prosecutor or whatever. Trump has always worked for his dad's company. That's it. And they expect to not have to be adults. So I'm glad you put it that way. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you, Brett, for being here. You made it such a fun show. Thank you as always. Everyone, I'm gonna be leading the first hour of the Young Turks Power Panel coming up later today. Brett is gonna be on the second hour with Jordan Ewell, Mark Thompson, all in studio. So that is both gonna be awesome, and I am very, very jealous. So everybody tune into that. Helen Hong, Yaz is gonna be with me in the first hour. Yaz is actually gonna be leading part of the first hour. So everyone tune in and give her support for that. For now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to Indisputable. I am Sharon Reed, and for the good doctor today, Dr. Ritchie has the day off. He has, for some reason, entrusted me to helm the show alongside Jackson White. One of your favorites, mine too, politics and paper. We've got a bunch of different things going on where you educate, enlighten people. So it's always a pleasure to be on with you, Jackson.
Always good to be here. And I'm sitting here like wondering how I made it to 2:30 in the afternoon without eating anything. I don't do
Oh,
that often, but I'm okay.
no.
I'm not going to pass out or anything like that. But I definitely got like cheeseburger and fries on my mind.
Oh, okay. And I don't know if you're fasting, and we wish you the
No,
best.
no,
And
there's nothing spiritual like that going on.
okay. All right. Well, if you get lightheaded, let us know.
I
We'll
got
take a
some
quick
juice
break.
next to me. We good.
Okay. Make sure your blood sugar's regulated. You'll need that regulation for this first one, Jackson.
Do it.
So let's get into it. Bigots use a bridge tragedy to do what? Well, be racist. Let's just keep being racist toward a black mayor, because that's what we're doing. Watch this.
I will allow you, Mayor Scott, if you choose to do so, to respond to the tomfoolery and attacks on you for having the nerve to be black and also a mayor.
Well, I think, listen, I know, and we all know, and you know very well, that black men and young black men in particular have been the boogeyman for those who are racist and think that only straight, wealthy white men should have a say in anything. We've been the boogeyman from them since the first day they brought us to this country. And what they mean by DEI, in my opinion, is duly elected incumbent. We know what they want to say, but they don't have the courage to say the N-word. And the fact that I don't believe in their untruthful and wrong ideology, and I am very proud of my heritage and who I am and where I come from, scares them. Because me being at my position means that their way of thinking, their way of life of being comfortable and suffering, and while everyone else suffers, is going to be at risk. And they should be afraid, because that's my purpose in life.
Well said. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott on with Joy Reid of MSNBC there. He actually had to address this foolishness, okay? After a cargo ship that rammed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, March 26, and caused its collapse, internet trolls took to X. They took the opportunity to spout racist rhetoric against the city's black mayor. And this young mayor was having none of it. Many racist internet trolls blamed the bridge collapse on DEI, woke ideology. Several ex-users also condemned Mayor Scott for wearing a Letterman jacket with the City of Baltimore logo while speaking to the press about the tragedy at an early morning press conference, implying that he wasn't dressed properly. So let's stop. Let's just stop right here, okay? You get the call, a famed bridge where hundreds of thousands, a million, they'll get me the number, every year, use it. Major port here, moving goods. And oh yeah, people are missing. Families may or may not know. And it's not going to work out for some of them. And you're worried about this mayor wearing a jacket with, I'll call it the crest of a city on it. Quickly, Jackson, I need you to react to that.
Well, what Fox News, I remember the other day I was talking about Maria Bartiromo because she, brought this down to like immigration, but it doesn't matter what it is. If it could be an economic issue, it could be something to do with the health insurance industry. It's always going to boil back to there's too many brown people in the country taking our jobs away from us, taking away our health care, taking away our benefits. People who live in Idaho, North Dakota are always concerned about these things because at the end of the day, what happened in Baltimore, that's just like a freak accident. Like things like that happen sometimes, not often, but stuff like that happens because of human error. If the mayor of this city was white, what difference would that have made? It's kind of like a tornado hitting, a hurricane hitting. Could this have been prevented? I'm sure it could have been prevented.
Well,
You're
you're trying to make sense. Yeah, you're asking the question: if the mayor was white, would this accident have happened? Of course, it could have, would have. Okay, as you said, things happen. But I can tell you one. You asked what would have been the difference. I can tell you one difference if you'll have me.
Yes.
The difference would be he wouldn't have been called the DEI mayor.
Yeah.
He would not have probably been called a drug dealer and trash. And I think we can agree on that, but let's just put it up there, okay? White and
He's a drug
delightsome.
dealer.
Yes, look at this. Probably smoked a blunt after the press conference. Wow. Okay. Aren't you wonderful? P9 777. No wonder the crime rate is through the roof. He's a drug dealer. No wonder the crime is through the roof. Okay, we'll get you the information, the real information on what's going on in Baltimore. It's a sin, says MAGA for life. I could barely understand a word he said. Shut up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did you understand that?
You speak more clear than me.
That's right. He is terrific. He's a communicator, no matter your politics. So we'll tell you several ex-users. Boy, they had a lot of fun. Pushed back against the trolls. One noted that racism is so ingrained in the views of conservatives that they blame Black people and other minorities for society's problems. Quote, their obsession with DEI is nothing more than a euphemism for their white victimhood. Added another. A bridge collapsed and racism reared its ugly head. My God, this world is nasty and vile, echoed another. Another replied, DEI is now a racial slur. That's just right. What have we learned? A word is less important than the intention behind it. As a result, white people will always find a new way to call us DEIs. Land a black star with that. And I think, DEIs is, well, it's another word. It's another word. One user posted a diagram with the N-word along with the word CRT, critical race theory, woke, and DEI, and claimed N controlled the political cycle. This is a dissertation there. So it's a shame, Jackson, that out of the gate, we have to get your commentary on this one. But we must, because I look at racist as first and foremost stupid. And that's not to say that everyone who's a racist is stupid. Some people have been indoctrinated. They believe certain things, but it's stupid. This, I don't know how we can even get around it. People are missing. People are dead. There's been this freak accident. And you want to call the mayor of Baltimore, this Black man trying to lead a city through this crisis, a drug dealer. Your turn.
Well, it's not just stupid, but especially at this level, it's childish. It's really pathetic. If it didn't have real world negative consequences, you could just laugh at it because it's so ridiculous. And unfortunately, these are the people who will go to the polls with this type of stuff instead of voting for their wages, instead of voting for things that they do care about. Again, it always goes to, blame the immigrants or the Black people who were causing all the crime in their minds. But yeah, this is why MAGA is so strong, even though Trump is, rifting his audience again with going public with True Social, all these indictments that he has. It doesn't matter. The cultural representation of the right in this country is that, we got to stop the Browning effect. And that's pretty much as deep as it goes. That's it. It's just racism.
Yeah. But I just feel like it's the dumbing down of even racism. Look how dumb it is.
Yeah.
Can we get, we're actually talking about this. And there's actually people commenting on it. And people who believe this. There are some who say, and I think Joy Reid had him on appropriately, and I think he addressed it well. But there's some who say, why don't we just ignore these idiots? I want your take on that first, then I'll give mine.
Well, you can only ignore this up to a certain degree. I think that, realistically, you could talk about it a bit less. But, that doesn't take away the fact that people are discussing it on Twitter. That doesn't take away the fact that people are congregating by the hundreds, if not thousands, in online spaces to push forth this type of rhetoric. So I think that at the end of the day, you kind of have to talk about it because it has real world impact. People get hurt over this. Policies get passed over this type of cultural attitude as well. So it's kind of like ignoring a disease, ignoring the virus or the cancer won't make it go away type of deal.
Yeah.
There's always a different way to address things, perhaps, but pretending like something isn't there doesn't mean it isn't.
Yeah, as much as I like to just ignore people who I deem irrelevant, it's actually a character flaw of mine. Once I size you up, and this is going to sound strange, but I'm never wrong. I'm not wrong. And once I see you, if I deem you to be someone who is not credible and is up to no good, I have a way of just looking right through you. You got to learn to get along with everybody, Jackson. That's why I called it a character flaw, but I couldn't agree with you more. Cannot ignore what's in front of us because there's actually our fellow Americans and across the pond too, who believe this nonsense. They actually believe this as if what it does is it presents as if white majority, and that's what we're apparently going to keep calling them, even though their census might tell us otherwise, a white majority can do no wrong, is born superior, okay? And so when they screw up, that's why you hear excuses, right? That's why you hear, oh, mass shooter, mental health. But when we do, it's expected because we're just not good enough. It has nothing to do with opportunity and access. It has to do with birthright. Am I right or wrong?
100%. I mean, that even goes into things like access to abortion, different attitudes on who gets it and why they get it. I mean, this permeates pretty much to any type of policy issue that you can imagine. First comes culture, then comes policies. That's something Dr. Richie says all the time, but it's true.
Yep.
Anywhere you look at it in the political spectrum, you see what you just explained, basically entitlement. It's just entitlement.
Entitlement is a hell of a drug.
Entitlement to consideration. I would say that would be a good way to find a way to pin it down.
I think you're right. We'll move on to this next one. I want to get the pronunciation just right. Olami Olarin. Okay? Remember the name. Because they eviscerated Eric Adams on The Breakfast Club. I need to set the scene with the first clip.
Commit a crime or you're rearrested, that you bail can and will be set on you. So that's the first thing. Second of all, they have conducted multiple studies, but the Brennan Center literally just put out one. Less than 2% of anybody in New York City that's released on bail is rearrested for any violent crime. More importantly, in the same breath that you want to sensationalize, we want to highlight and point out, an officer was killed the other day, which is a rare occurrence across the United States, but let alone in New York. New York police officers have killed at least 7 people this year, including a 19-year-old. An NYPD officer killed a 19-year-old in Queens yesterday.
I'm not going to dismiss the loss of a life of an innocent person that wears a uniform to protect us.
But you do, of the 31 people dead at Rikers and the 19-year-old killed yesterday.
I go visit those parents that lose their loved ones to violence.
Are you visiting the family of the...
Do you do that?
First of all, yes, I did. I held a Riker. I represented hundreds...
You went to visit the family members of a slain officer?
No, not the slain officer.
Okay, of course you did.
No, but what about the 19-year-old that was killed yesterday by NYPD in Queens when he called for help? Have you said anything about that? Are you visiting them?
Yeah,
and so on. And so she goes for Olay. She goes by Olay for short, and she brings receipts. I don't even know she was looking at notes, just off the top of her head. Okay? I like to show up sometimes like that when I do a debate because the candidates think, oh, this will be easy. She doesn't even have any notes. They're up here. I do. Okay. So anyway, New York-based attorney, activist, political commentator Olay has long been critical of New York Mayor Eric Adams. Was able to call him out to his face on a public platform like The Breakfast Club. The 19-year-old that Olay was referring to, Wynn Rosario, NYPD cops fatally shot the teen in mental distress who was wielding scissors inside his Queens home Wednesday after he called 911 on himself. His family now calling for justice over what they believe was a wrongful killing. But Olay wasn't done. Fear-mongering was also top of mind. So let's take a look at that.
There is a difference between perception and fact and how people feel about safety and the way people feel about the subways. And I think it's your own rhetoric about the subways that has a lot to do with why people feel scared, despite the fact that millions of people ride the subway every day without incident. But you've continued to fearmonger about crime in the subways. You've added 2,000 police officers, despite the fact that you've acknowledged that the subways are not that dangerous. And I think you're right. Poor New Yorkers should not be the ones who bear the brunt of this, but they will if they already have the subway being turned into a place that they have to fare, that there's a National Guard, that there's a hyper visibility of police, that they're trying to stop people with certain records from even using them, and now you have this congestion price. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, let's go before. First of all, I would love to give me the quotes on my rhetoric because I'm lost on that. Can you give me the quotes?
Oh, that you fairmonger about the subways?
Yeah, give me
you've consistently done that since the day one of your administration. One of the first things you did was add 1,000 officers to the subway because you claimed that the subways are unrideable. You and Hochul did this and said how dangerous it is, and you recently did that when you deployed the National Guard. If you are saying that New York is the safest city, it's one of the safest big cities in this country, which is true, and you're recognizing that the subway stations are in fact not half as dangerous as they're presented to be, I'm saying how do you reconcile how your rhetoric has played into people's fear?
Okay.
About Mayor Adams, I'm not going to ask her any more follow-up questions. It's not in his best interest. Don't ask her any more follow-ups. Get in, get out. That's what I would have coached him to do. I wouldn't be working for him anyway, but somebody should have coached him. Don't ask her any more questions because she's going to keep going. How about stop and frisk?
The federal monitor, who is tasked with ensuring that NYPD is following the law, conducted an analysis.
Came under who?
Conducted an analysis that happened 8 years ago, but they're still here monitoring what you're doing. And they said that you have brought back stop and frisk policies that are worse than they saw even during the Bloomberg era. But more importantly, they analyzed the neighborhood safe.
Show me that.
I could show you the report is available, and I know it's been available to you because your spokesperson has commented on it. They did an analysis of over 10 precincts,
You can't keep putting out
10
stuff
different
that's
precincts.
factual,
That is
sister.
factual. There's a federal monitor reporting to Judge T. Swain on it and presenting the information. They said that, yes, listen, let me finish so you can peel it back. They conducted an analysis of 10 different precincts, and of the stops of 10 different precincts, they found that 97% of them, by the way, of the neighborhood safety teams that were disbanded in 2020 because of their disproportionate abuse against Black and Hispanic people that you revived, they analyzed 10 of those different neighborhood safety teams and found that they're conducting 97% of their stops on Black and brown people, and a quarter of them are unconstitutional. That's what the federal monitor said, not me.
Okay. Well, she's on a roll. And so I need to moonwalk back. The advice I would have then given the mayor, Eric Adams, is just compliment her. Tell her how great she is, how smart she is, and how he could really use her in his administration. I can assure you that's not going to work, but it might have at least put her flat-footed, not on her heels, flat-footed for just a beat so you could catch your breath. Just a beat. But he didn't do that. He was flustered. It sounds like she's the only one on the show. Where's Charlemagne? Where are these other people? They're apparently just eating Danishes, taking a coffee break because she's got it, including about homeless encampments.
All I know is when I came in office and I stated that I wanted to I'm not allowing people to sleep in tents on our streets. They're going to get the care that they deserve. The far left attacked me.
No, we attacked you because you made it so that people could be involuntarily committed.
Listen, if I'm sitting down with you, brother, and I'm in a tent with you or an encampment, and I'm seeing human waste in the corner, I'm seeing stale food, I'm seeing drug paraphernalia, and I'm hearing you talking about you only here until the spaceship comes to take you to your next planet. You need to be involuntarily committed.
Didn't I just say about sensationalized kinds of stories?
This is what I saw. This is what I saw. This is what I saw.
You were there? Because the
activists
activists that were actually there at the encampments you had torn down, you weren't there, but they were there when they were being arrested. Just last year, we paid out $150 million in settling police misconduct from NYPD, and that was double the number. That's double the number in police misconduct since you became mayor.
I bet Mayor Adams wishes he could have gotten on a spaceship or something that the Jetsons used to ride and get the hell out of that studio. I did see Charlemagne. I'll apologize now. He wasn't eating a Danish or coffee, but he was letting the sister have a go at it. And why interrupt when she's got it? No need for him to tap in. She's got it, including about the migrant crisis.
Other states are telling me, Eric, we will take the migrants and asylum seekers if they just allow them to work. We're not going to take them and just have them sit around every day. If they're allowed to work, we would take them.
I agree
the
with
national government.
She agrees with you.
I agree with you that migrants should be.
She agrees with a lot of stuff.
No, I trust you that I do not.
She's on that train.
I'm sitting here, Mayor Adams.
She's gonna be dialing 911.
First of all, I ride the subway every day. I've worked as a public defender in this city and represented thousands of people. So please spare me. No, I'm not.
Do you think more police make people feel safe, especially black and brown
people?
No,
they don't.
No, black and brown people?
Yes, brother.
Oh my God. You got up and declared that we have this migrant crisis. And I thought it was interesting, your earlier point about the difference between how Ukrainian migrants are being received versus migrants, black and Latino migrants. Because again, you gave a town hall where you were the one who gave this speech and you incentivized New Yorkers to feel this way. You were the one who presented it to the city that you had to cut budgets across because of the migrant crisis, even though recently you decided that you all actually do have the money to handle the migrant issue. That just wasn't publicized as much. No, so this goes back to my original discussion.
Sister, you're an attorney, and I'm amazed. I think your art is, I'm just going to throw it out there and make people feel
Mayor
that
Adams,
way
before you say it, there's an entire council that knows you're lying.
See, what had happened was he forgot that you don't want to just keep going at it with a black woman. Not one who has her ducks in a row and her bags packed. It's finished. It's not going to work out for you. And you certainly don't want to talk about her to a black man in the room while she's sitting right there. Abort. Because see, now you done made her mad. And I can say this because I'm a proud black woman who is allowed to be angry. Now you done made her mad. You're calling out her integrity, her character. So she has to hit you with perhaps what is the best argument. Best for last, perhaps? What about the FBI raid on your office, Mayor?
I went to the southern border to understand the problem.
I remember you started that tour before you were going to go DC, and when you were going to go to DC to talk to Joe Biden about the migrant crisis, but you were stopped because the FBI had to take your phones.
Good Lord, you just make up stuff.
Did I make that up? That's reported.
Sister,
the FBI didn't seize your phones?
Sister.
The FBI didn't seize your phones?
No.
But they didn't investigate your top aides. That's not happening.
What did you understand? I want you to understand the hypocrisy of people. When the law enforcement does something every day, it's bad. But when they do something against Eric Adams, it's good. Come on, let's make up our mind.
I said what happened. Okay. I didn't say that it was good. I don't think it's good that our mayor is being investigated for illegal campaigns. I don't think that's good.
Even I know your phone was taken, Mayor, and they're looking into some folks about some things and money, perhaps at the root of it. Jackson, did I have to play so many clips? Did I have to give so many embarrassing examples? Yes, because it's fun to do and it's enlightening. Do you, and I do want to hear what you have to say about all of it, including overall the mayor. But first I want you to answer this question. Do you believe Mayor Eric Adams was looking around hoping that the Sandman would get him out of there and yank him off the set?
The Sandman made somebody. I mean, there's so much to say about this. First and foremost, overall, I don't think it was a very productive conversation, and it's mostly because of Eric Adams. And he, most importantly, people really don't like him. And so, just the way that Eric Adams has handled his administration and his term hasn't really been well liked. He's kind of a strange guy. He's not that personable. And he came into office right after the pandemic. So, the world in New York wasn't really all that privy necessarily to who he was. And he's a cop at the end of the day. Now, I think that what's important to point out is that Ole was 100% correct in that issues like crime get blown out of proportion. Like they'll make it seem like, it's just everyone's dealing with this. When in fact, it could be an issue that's growing a little bit that does need to be addressed, but that doesn't make it more important than things like the price of rent, how much people are getting in wages, how much access people have to different types of programs or benefits. That's going to be more important than the fear-mongering aspect. Now, on the other end, I think that one thing that the progressive community, and I'm not really speaking about Olay because this whole clip really was just her just eviscerating Eric Adams. But one of my critiques on the progressive community is like, what we'll do a lot of the time is we'll be like, oh, in fact, crime is not a problem at all. Although it does, nah, it is a problem and it does matter. But the issue is when you use it to fearmonger and make it like this is the biggest issue that we're facing, and it isn't. So how are we going to tackle homelessness? How are we going to tackle crime? How can we
Mhm.
stop recidivism? That's
Mhm.
how we have the productive conversation. But
Yeah.
overall, Eric Adams is just not a good mayor, and I don't
Yeah.
think he probably won't get a second term. But yeah, he just sucks at his job at the end of the day, and she
Yeah.
tore his head off because he sucks at his job.
She did, and you make important points here. First of all, he never had a mandate because look at it. Okay, De Blasio's leaving, and about 18 people. Okay, maybe half a dozen, maybe it was 10. I don't remember. Tons of people started running, and then it's like he got maybe 50 votes and he won. Again, it's an exaggeration, but you understand when there's 6 people running, there's no mandate. This guy's it, the former cop who says he was beaten within an inch of his life. And so he gets it and he understands and he'll hold law enforcement accountable. Yeah, right. Jackson's right when he talks about proportions and fear mongering. I want to hit you with this, though. This Black mayor is also facing, I suspect, what a lot of Black mayors face. They have to be, quote, outwardly tough on crime because big business in cities here in Atlanta, Buckhead, let's say, demands it. And here comes Cop City because of it. Cities will not attract business. Business will not back politicians, Black ones, unless they do their bidding on crime. They want to feel safe, even if it's just window dressing. You will do this, or you won't stay in power. Adams may be out anyway, Jackson, but do you think that he's perhaps facing some of that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, what the factions that got him in there, or just law enforcement in general. So he's just being himself. He's just answering to the people who support him, which unfortunately really is not the majority, and it's not the public. But yeah, no, I think he's just answering to people he needs to answer to, like you said.
I don't know that he'll be visiting the Breakfast Club again. Perhaps
Probably not.
when Ole's there. Probably
Yeah,
feels a
no,
little set up by
definitely not.
Charlemagne.
That was
Uh,
rough. That was
that
rough.
was
It was
rough.
like, oh,
But
oh
hey,
God.
Charlemagne gave plenty of room for him to defend himself if he could. I understand we edited the clips, but this, hey, sister,
He's always like that.
it's just not. Yeah, stop calling me sister, by the way. So, I'm not your sister. We're having this conversation. All right, so we'll keep tabs on Mayor Adams for the rest of his term, and if he gets a second term. We'll move on, though, now. Here we go again. Black 17-year-old chase fatally run over by Mississippi police. Kadarius Smith, a Black 17-year-old, died in the hospital March 21st after a Leland police officer began chasing him in a police cruiser. That cruiser ran him over. Civil rights and personal injury attorney Ben Crump is on the case, retained by the family of Kadarius Smith. Here's the press release from Crump. Smith's death occurred in the early morning hours of March 21 when he was walking home with friends and the police cruiser began chasing him, according to witnesses. Crump's press release alleges, without naming the witness, Mississippi Free Press with the statement. The attorney's announcement cites Smith's mother, who alleged that her son was run over from behind, leaving police cruiser tire marks on his back. Crump said the police department still employs the officer and that officials have not allowed the family to see the unedited video footage from that night. Quoting, "We demand that the officer who was driving the cruiser be immediately terminated and that the unedited video footage is released to the family." Imagine the horror. The horror to have to watch your son's final moments They must see it. Ben Crump is right. Bring it all out. Dispatcher who answered the phone at Leland Police Department was familiar with the incident and told News One that the agency was not handling the case. When asked to explain, the dispatcher referred News One to local attorney Josh Bogan on the left, whose telephone number did not allow a message to be left. Request for comment from the Washington County District Attorney's Office of W. Dwayne Richardson on the right was not immediately returned. Leland Police Chief Jimmy Myrick, not pictured, told the Delta News the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is leading an investigation into this incident. We should tell you there's no picture of Myrick available at this time. Well, I feel better knowing that the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is all over this one, so we will get full transparency. Is that sarcasm, Jackson, or do I really mean it?
I'm pretty sure that's probably sarcasm, especially given the fact that we're talking about Mississippi. And I mean, even if they tried, they're the poorest state in the union. So, but outside of that, I mean, getting ran over is like that. That's harder to do than like accidentally shooting somebody, if you really think about it. Like, I mean, yeah, you got to take your gun out and point it and stuff like that. But if you have it out, at least there's the excuse that, oh, I sneezed or I got scared and I accidentally touched the trigger or something like that. But when you're in a car, I mean, the massive, multi-ton vehicle that no one stands a chance on whatsoever. I mean, you could at least shoot somebody in the leg. Doesn't usually happen. But all I'm getting at is there's like hardly any chance of survival getting ran over by a car. Like, you got to mean it if you do something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's evil. Really kind of even more difficult to listen to and be exposed to than knowing that somebody got shot up. So yeah, this footage absolutely should be let out so people could see just how much it takes to actually drive over somebody. That's why Suge Knight is in prison.
Oh my goodness. I can't unsee that. Remember that footage, the surveillance footage?
Yeah.
That was horrific. See the tire go over the body backing up. It's horrific.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Sometimes I don't want to see this, Jackson. Sometimes we must. Emmett Till's mother knew that. Send your baby down south for a visit, summer. And the next thing you know, you're looking at a bloated, decomposing, mutilated boy. That helped open the minds of Americans who didn't get it because they were from the other side of the tracks, didn't understand the horror. You got a son, I got a son. Look at my son. We will keep following this and the investigation by the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations. There must be full transparency. I'm Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie alongside Jackson White today. We hope you'll stay with us. This is Indisputable.
Now I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the True Crime Podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT, and if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi, and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
A new TYT app experience is now available. Check out brand new features like voting in polls and signing petitions. You can also follow your favorite TYT shows, join the live chat, engage in message boards, search for and follow topics you care about, and much more. Download the app by searching for TYT in the App Store or via Google Play.
Welcome back to Indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed, in for Dr. Richie, alongside our special guest co-host, Jackson White. Today, always a treat to have him on the program. Love his insight, and so do you all. Let's get to some member comments. TYT members first. 36 Chambers Dragon, Mountain Dragon, says about the Baltimore mayor who is being hit with just racist comments. It's a tragedy, folks. The Francis Scott Key Bridge is fallen because of a tragic barge accident. What don't you understand? Mountain Dragon says this strong and young mayor shows great perseverance against all of this racist rhetoric. Baltimore's a tough city to oversee, I'm sure, and he has to deal with these bigots at the same time. All the support to this mayor during these tough political times. All the love to Sharon and Jackson as well. Such a great duo. I do think we make a great duo. Okay.
I do too. It's always a good time.
Yes, it's always a good time. So thank you for that, Mountain Dragon. We receive it well. CDE 71954. Was DEI responsible for building the bridge? No. Oh, good point. But since the mayor is Black, gotta blame somebody. That's exactly what's going on, CDE. Good point. Good point. Okay, who gets the contracts to build these things? I didn't want to go further into it because it's not what this is about. Okay? Freak accident. People are dead. And yet this foolishness persists. Lynn, Olay's receipts are longer than those from CVS. Yes. The CVS receipts continue.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was just the whole time she was just like, nah, I mean, but that's kind of been his whole tenure. It's just been a bunch of that, so.
Why not just say your calendar's full? You can't make it.
Right.
Send a surrogate, okay, and then blame them for not representing well. Lynn, you're right. And CVS continues to, in my view, affect the environment with those receipts. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's not. But I don't want to belabor the point. X-Dog, the security dragon, says that little earring he got, it makes him look more ridiculous than him just speaking.
He got an earring. You talking about
I think talking about Eric Adams, okay? Because I remember when they played him on SNL, and he did have one. I remember thinking, well, this is funny as hell, but so rude. Oh, he's been there a while. It was spot on. Right? Okay. Yeah. Some people can rock it though, Jackson. The point is not everybody can do that. That's the point. X-Dog, I think, is making YouTube. Bigots use bridge tragedy to be racist. Do you realize how dumb that sounds? It sounds like The Onion. Okay. David Morris says, note, the required mental gymnastics needed to blame the crash on Black people are simply staggering. Well said, David Morris.
Never let a good, what do they say? Never let a good crisis go to waste or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. But he's right. The gymnastics, the tumbling, the contortions one must do to conclude that this is the result. They're going to be very athletic. Of DEI is just, come on now. It's not fit for a cartoon. Yet this is your life, America. One more for you, Ron Moore. Thank you. We appreciate your support. Think about it. When have you ever heard a police chief or mayor say crime is down, has been trending down for a while, so we're going to keep police budget stable and or lay off a few officers? I don't believe I have heard that. You see what I mean? This political game when it comes to crime, this political game. Love your comments. We will visit more of them. But now, more important news of the day, not to say that your comments aren't worthy, because they are. And I can't wait to hear what you say about this one. Do you like chicken? I like chicken. I don't want to get into this, though, okay? It takes a special kind of person to get into this at a chicken joint. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Here. You know that, right? Yeah. And you're supposed to be a manager, right?
What are you making that video about?
What do you mean? I'm showing everyone how you treat your customers. I'm telling you there's something wrong with your machine. This is how you treat your customers? That's how you treat your customers, right? And you're supposed to be a manager? I'm a regular customer. I come here a lot.
Yours card is not working.
No, my card, it's your machine's a problem. I keep on saying duplicate receipt. You've seen it, I've seen it. Right? You've seen it. You did it multiple times, and you're a manager. Every time you work and you're so dirty, like, come on, man. Like, look at your uniform. Like, every time. You're supposed to be clean. Do your laundry. Like, this is what church chicken looks like at the beginning of in Hamilton. Like, what's wrong with you?
Don't worry.
What? You want to say something? Say something. This is the customer service you get at church chicken. They don't care. You're supposed to be a manager. Come on, say something. You're supposed to be the manager. We can see everybody how church operates right now. Very rude and ignorant. This is why you don't shop at Church Chicken anymore. Or buy food here, because the rude, ignorant customer service is horrible.
Let me just say this to the team who does an excellent job. That needed a breaking news stinger, okay? To let the rest of us know that this is how things run at churches. Chicken? Don't we know? When I want chicken, I just want chicken, Jackson. And guess what? Newsflash. As a young lady, this has happened to me before. Credit card machine's not working. Perhaps I didn't have the funds. If you smile and you're nice and just say, Uh-oh, must be free. I've gotten free meals like that. But not if you're going to be nasty. Not if you're going to be nasty. Should this have had the breaking news stinger on it, Jackson? Because he wanted us to know, shocker, things don't always work that well at Church's Chicken.
Trying to keep us safe. So I guess you got to give him a little bit of credit for that. But no, this is what happened. My man's had $4.27 left in his checking account. He was like, maybe the bank will let me overdraft. And then they didn't let him overdraft. So he was just like, instead of just being like, man, I'm just gonna, like, bro, you could have just left and gotten like a double cheeseburger or something. You could have went home and made some ramen noodles. I don't know. Because he didn't even have a lot of conviction in the video. Like he sounded like he was halfway trying to do it, but he didn't really want to bring the heat. Like he didn't curse. He didn't really he didn't really say anything mean. He was just obnoxious and goofy.
So embarrassed. I think you're suggesting he was embarrassed, so he decided to put on a show at the chicken joint.
And embarrass himself even further.
It is embarrassing.
That's all it was. I understand, man. I understand. I know what it's like to be down. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you just got to know which restaurants will let you overdraft and which ones won't. Uber Eats will they'll let you get away on credit, but you got to be careful because then they'll just take the money away from you as soon as you get some. So
look at
use
that.
Uber Eats next time. That's what you got to do.
No, that's breaking news.
Yeah.
He perhaps didn't want to pay the fees, or maybe it already been banned there. Yeah.
You got to know how to be broke, man.
It's how to be broke. That's something perhaps you could pen. That's a service announcement to many Americans who are suffering because of the haves and the have-nots, the way our system is set up. I think it's a worthy cause. A lot of people have resentment, and we've talked about this anti-wokeism and blaming DEI by pathetic people who are doing it. But I do think this is the time it permeates. It just allows people to do whatever they want, including this white actress. Her name is Julie Delpy. She has a wish. It's not going to come true, but she can still dream. A girl can dream, can't she? She wants to know what it's like to be African American, an actress in Hollywood of color, so she can complain. Listen.
A few years ago, I said something like that about like the Academy being very white male, which is the reality. And I was like slashed to pieces by the media and stuff. But it's interesting that women can't talk. Like actually, like I sometimes wish I was African American, you know, because I think at least people don't bash them afterwards when they say something, you know, about a reality, which is like, you know, we live in a xenophobic environment,
right,
not just the you know, not just the Academy, obviously, just the entire world, you know. But like, it's very hard for a woman to open it. I think even hard. I think it's probably the hardest to be a woman because feminists is probably something that people hate above all. Like, I don't think it's nothing worse than being a woman in this business. I really believe it's not. There's nothing worse. I actually in America, because in France it's fine.
I don't. Is there an agent, a PR person who could have perhaps held up a sign that said,
"Girl, shut up.
Zip it." And I want to put up the pictures. I tell you more about this because you see, this is a resurfaced January 24, 2016 clip showing the actress Julie Delpy saying she wishes she were African American as Wiener Dog co-star Kieran Culkin cringes. You don't see his face, do you? Very bright, very smart. You're not about to posterize me, is what he's really saying. Okay? I'm just put my head down and let her do what she get ready to do. Suicide. The actress made the comment as she lamented there was nothing worse than being a woman in the entertainment industry while promoting the 2016 film festival alongside Danny DeVito, who, I won't use the four-letter word, but he's saying, what the is you talking about? Okay.
Literally everyone is looking at her and trying to communicate telepathically, like, just shut up, just stop talking. Like,
we right before lunch, and this is what you getting ready to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like she didn't need to say any of it, really. I mean, it was kind of like, it seemed to me like all of it was like, you didn't even need to go there. She could have even just like talked about her own struggles and maybe some of the things that she's personally overcome. And that would have been fine because everybody has personal struggles. Everybody has challenges, especially if you're going to be successful at any type of level. And women do face challenges in this country.
Sure.
But
And she does have challenges. Yeah, we agree on that.
yeah,
Sundance.
Apparently more than she may be ready for. But yeah, that was just kind of silly. That was goofy.
It's goofy. It's awkward. I don't have a full frontal of Danny DeVito, but I can tell you his eyes looking at her were telling her, the eyes were telling her, shut up. Shut up.
She's been waiting to say that for years.
Yes, she looked awkward, like she was receiving a signal, but not fully translating it. He wanted her to shut her mouth. Okay? Enough with the Larry David routine. And perhaps it's a skit. I don't know. Okay? It looks like something from a show, but it's real. After the resurfaced clip started trending on social media, several fans took to the comments to express their disappointment in the 2 days in Paris star. I just saw Julie Delpy's entire statement, and it's worse than I thought, one user wrote on Twitter. She really just erased the struggles that Black women face every day. Page 6 with the reporting. The Before Sunrise star previously apologized in a statement to Entertainment Weekly days after making the controversial comment. It read, very sorry for how I expressed myself. It was never meant to diminish the injustice done to African-American artists or to any other people that struggle for equal opportunities and rights. On the contrary, all I was trying to do is to address the issues of inequality of opportunity in the industry for women as well. As I am a woman, I never intended to underestimate anyone else's struggle. Well, you did. You did. Everything you did not intend is exactly what you did. I think you maybe did intend some of it. And I think after that, a group of people, and I picture a delegation of people, civil rights types, and maybe a Wayans brother or two, sat her down and said, you can't say that. Okay?
Yeah.
Here's what you put out, and don't do another interview. Just put it out statement because we can't be trusted. You really don't get it? Maybe D.L. Hughley was part of this. That's just in my mind what I'm thinking to get her all the way together. Her analysis done by Sky News on the Academy Awards. In all 4 acting categories, plus directing, screenwriting, only 61 Oscar wins have been for people from ethnically diverse backgrounds. You can see change with almost half of these wins being in the last decade following hashtag Oscars so white. You see, so we're not just going to bring you the statements. We've done the research. We're going to give you some of the data. 61 sounds like a lot. No, not when you look at the history of the Academy. It's peanuts, minuscule, ethnically diverse too. It runs the gamut. What don't you understand? 7 of these winners have received more than one. Director Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu has 3. Director Angelique, actor Anthony Quinn, actor Denzel Washington, director Alfonso Cuarón, actor Mahershala Ali, and director Bong Joon-ho have 2. There's your statistics. There it is. 96 years of Academy Award winners, there have only been ever 3 women to win the award for Best Director. Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, 2021, was also the first woman from an ethnically diverse background to win that award. The late Sidney Poitier, first Black man to win the Oscar for leading actor for Lilies of the Field in 1964, 35 years after the awards began. The second, Denzel for Training Day, 40 years after that. So I guess we could give you a black card, let you try it out. But I assure you, it won't be 24 hours before she turns it back in. You will turn it right back in. Smith, as in Will, 2022, who could forget that? Is the last Black man to win the Oscar for Best Actor in a leading role? Forrest Whitaker. So until Will Smith won in 2022, before that, it was just Forrest Whitaker, great actor, for The Last King of Scotland in 2006. Is it mandatory that a decade or more has to go by before another Black person can get the award? What, are you afraid of what they'll say if they get on stage? You cue that music anyway and drown people out. Last person of color was Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, 2019. Black women now. This ought to be good. Well, the stats are even more shocking. There's the beautiful one, Halle Berry. She won in 2002. She was radiant. Her role in Monsters Ball was monumental. 73. Yeah, she's good. She just got it going on. I don't think she'll ever lose it.
No, she won't.
One of one. After 73 years of the Oscars, she was the first Black woman to receive the Oscar for Best Leading Actress. And 22 years later, she's still one of one. That ought to make you sick. Maybe there shouldn't be an academy. If we're supposed to be rewarding great work, great talent, again, it's this whole thing of birthright and what people think is worthy and not. A lot of great talent and the rainbow of colors, but for some reason it took 73 years for it to be recognized. And Halle Berry, we love you, Halle. The acting category with the most Black winners is Best Supporting Actress, 10, including recent champ Yvonne Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, a winner. Analysis conducted by Anscape found there was meaningful impact from the Oscars So White movement back in 2015 as it examined nominations and wins between roles in front of the camera and behind the camera from 2000 to 2020. More data for you. The team has just done an excellent job. And this is why they're here, because they're not just producers, not just about pictures and words, they're investigators. In general, behind the camera roles have a much larger winning percentage than nomination percentage, the analysis showed, for acting. Only once has there been more than one person of color nominated for Best Actress in the same year. Only one person of color has ever won for Best Actor when they were the sole person of color nominated that year. You see this? Do you see what's going on, Julie? Oh, Julie. Anscape reports in the decade and a half before Oscars So White, there were 5 years of films for which no person of color won an Oscar in any of the 8 premier categories, either in front of the camera or behind it. None. The last 6 years are responsible for roughly half of the total number of people of color who were nominated and won Oscars since 2000. People of color nominated for behind-the-scenes work have a relatively high winning percentage. The same pattern holds true in the supporting actor and actress categories, such as that the talented actors of color are disproportionately cast in supporting roles. Do you see? You have to look at the big picture. You can't just present the data, you have to analyze it. But in the 2 main acting categories, Best Actress, Best Actor, people of color have far lower odds of being nominated and winning than their supporting counterparts, with women of color especially underrepresented among both nominees and winners. Despite steady gains over the last decade, people of color remained underrepresented on nearly every industry employment front in 2022. People of color are less than 2 to 1, 21.6% of theatrical film leads, and less than a proportionate representation among total theatrical film actors, 36.1%. National Partnership for Women and Families with the data there. National Partnership research shows Black actresses typically make just 64 cents for every dollar white non-Hispanic actors make. Black women directors and producers make just 68 cents compared to their white non-Hispanic men counterparts. Even though these gaps are within an occupation, they are nearly as large as the overall wage gaps for Black women. Black actresses have continuously spoken out against equal pay for decades, yet Hollywood continues to lowball them, contract after contract. And so let's start there, Jackson. When Taraji just told the truth, she got hit with backlash. I felt like she got hit with backlash from everyone, including people who look like me. Yes, she's making money, and in some cases, a nice sum of money, but it's all relative. If you choose a certain industry and you make it, you have the talent. She's got incredible talent. Why not compare within that industry what she should be making?
Because she should just shut up and be grateful
Thank
that
you.
she's here at all.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes.
Just be grateful and be quiet.
That's what people were saying.
That's all it is. Don't
That's what
shake
people
up the
actually
pot.
said.
We comfortable. We comfortable.
Mhm.
That's all that is. Sometimes you got to shake people out of being comfortable so that they can do stuff. But I have to say this, okay? Denzel absolutely deserved that Oscar because I hated his character in that movie. Oh, he played that character so good. I hated him so much.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them. I hate his character. Now I'm thinking about it. But lastly, Julie saying that like her experience is worse than a black person's experience honestly would be like me equating my black experience to a dark-skinned person as if I'm not light-skinned, 6'6" and beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like that.
You can say that, by the way.
That kind of
Let's live with that.
honestly, that nullifies. In a lot of ways, that nullifies because I'm like a sex symbol to people. You know what I mean? So, but it's true.
Get ready to cut his mic.
It was just but it's the truth though. Just in terms of like my experience is not the same as somebody who's dark skinned and maybe doesn't look or isn't as tall or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
America has a certain perspective, a certain standard that's not inclusive of everyone.
Yeah. So that's all I was getting at. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be ridiculous for me to pretend like my experience is the same.
For you to pretend that you're not sexy, get the hell out of here, right?
No, I'm like, really you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
I mean what I say, right? Have several seats because we're going to speak the truth on this program. Doc does, and we lead by example, right? We're going to speak the truth. And you're absolutely right. That's how crazy it would be, okay? She said something about it, France, and she needs to go. And I don't usually tell people go back where you came from because I've gotten that too many times. I'm staying right here. Unless I choose to go somewhere else. But she needs to go on back to France, okay? Or she needs to get with the program and understand some things. I'd love for her to sit with Viola Davis. Who else could I put her with? Jennifer Lewis. I think I choose her. I actually think I choose Jennifer Lewis. And let's lock them in a room together so they can get plenty of education going. And you just better listen up. It's outrageous. I'll give you the last word, Jackson. I was less offended by... I was just like watching a car crash. Again, the Danny DeVito. I don't know if
he was looking at her like
that was crazy.
He was looking, and then the other guy was just sitting there like, oh.
Yeah,
because she just kept going. It was like she opened the can slowly, and she could have just stopped, but she just kept peeling it back,
put the lid back on,
like,
girl.
I'm here now. You know what I'm saying? Like I done got this far. I can't stop. That was silly.
Wow. It's just a train wreck.
Have to sleep in that bed that she made.
No, ma'am. You sit down. Okay, sit down. All right. Well, there's much more indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed alongside Jackson White. We're in today for the esteemed Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He'll be back, but for now, stay with us.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial, how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized, that's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. Look at that, dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
Welcome back to Indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed, and for Dr. Rashad Ritchie alongside Jackson White today. And we appreciate you, Jackson. You know, I always love it when we're on together because I learn things. Follow you on Instagram, I learn more. I don't always understand it, but I do learn from you. And I just want you to know I appreciate you. I really do. Let's get some more comments if we can. You're welcome. YouTube members. First, I want to say thank you. David Morris, Ron Moore, Shiva Mahadev, Cloudness 457. We appreciate you all, your gifts. Wonderful. And we support you too. C. Michael Henson about the church's chicken, Karen. So he was mad he couldn't afford church's chicken. Yes. Yes, he was. That's the crux of the matter. So as Jackson took us through it and analyzed this, we believe he was embarrassed the card wouldn't go through, insufficient funds, and therefore began recording and speaking about laundry and a whole lot of other things. Again, could have probably smiled and said, can I just get the chicken anyway? And I promise I'm good for it. There's something, you make a gesture, people be cool with it. That's not what he did. Lynn's back, and she has a comment on Julie Delpy, the white actress, who said, well, she was African-American in Hollywood, so I could complain. Again, did you see Danny DeVito's face? Delpy can read scripts, but can't read the room. Yes, Lynn. Yes. Okay. Back to Church's Chicken. TYT member Jay Casa. Some people love to try to punch down, make them feel better about themselves. You came to Church's Chicken, sir. What is the problem? Give you one more. Snack Panther says, Black people never bash. Where you live, okay, is the question. Again, about the white actress. It's Fran. She should go back there, sample the cheese and the wine. If you're going to stay here, though, we expect you to do your work. Not enough people are doing their work. We're going to move on here because we have an update. LUMO alumni have no confidence in leadership. There it is. Lincoln University's Alum Association has issued a statement of no confidence in the HBCU's Board of Curators, pictured right there, after it reinstated President John Mosley, who was on paid administrative leave while under investigation following the death of school administrator. It's a heartbreaking story. University alum and Vice President of Student Affairs, Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey, took her own life January 8th. Candia Bailey had accused Mosley of bullying, harassment, discrimination in a letter obtained by ABC News following her death. She was terminated shortly before her death. Statement from Lincoln University Alumni Association reads, this decision implodes the very fabric of healing and institution's dire need for recovery and wellness. This decision will continue to fester an open wound of hopelessness and despondency. No individual is above the health and well-being of the university. ABC News with the reporting. An investigation led by attorney Ron Norwood at Lewis Rice, LLC, who is a member of the governing board and was the past board president of an HBCU, found, quote, no claims of bullying by the university president can be substantiated, and reinstated Mosley to the position. Some students and alumni have protested that decision to reinstate the president and are calling for a separate investigation. The LUAA is also calling for the Board of Curators to vacate their seats, claiming they have brought forward irrevocable harm, shame, hopelessness, mortification to the campus. The board has not yet returned ABC News' request for comment on this statement of no confidence. I can only go by my experience, and maybe that's not fair, Jackson, but when I hear a certain law firm is picked or certain people with certain backgrounds, I don't know it to be true, but I do wonder. I wonder if the fix is in. This is what I wonder. Again, my opinion, not saying it was, but was this woman just making it up in full despair? At some point, she was qualified enough to get the job and keep it. What happened here? And why should we just move on?
Well, I think that, the fine line in the sand is that she took her life. I mean, that's not a small thing. That's not something that people just necessarily willingly do. People can be suicidal for years and not do it. Sometimes people make attempts, but to actually go through with it, you really got to be feeling a certain type of way of hopelessness, and like there's just no point in going on. So I think that by itself really just erases the idea that she's just making it up or being ridiculous. Because as you pointed out, she clearly was qualified enough to be in the position that she was. She's a dark-skinned Black woman. They wouldn't have just put her there for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, she wouldn't have just been there for no reason whatsoever. I think that you're right in pointing out that depending on who you can hire, people may look to bury certain type of information to just keep the operation moving forward, 100%. But I think the fact that this woman's life is lost is going to make that pretty difficult to do.
And it just feels like, let's say they're right. I don't know that my journalistic radar is hitting on that. I don't know that to be true. It just doesn't seem reasonable. Where's the empathy? I just don't feel like there's empathy for a life loss, regardless of who's accused, where you sit, what's left behind. She is gone.
And the way she's gone too. Like, it wasn't like she didn't die in a car accident. She wasn't like terminally ill. So it wasn't something that people kind of were preparing for or expecting. That's one of the worst ways that people can go, because it goes against your nature. So for you to do that, you really got to be down bad.
Yeah.
So it's tragic.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep following the story, and apparently the student body and certain alum are not letting it go, and so we got to see how it plays out. But I'm always for transparency wherever it takes us. Really am. We'll move on to another tragedy. A white Illinois man fatally stabs a Black 18-year-old Walmart worker. Illinois, Timothy Carter on the left, accused of killing an 18-year-old Jason Jenkins on the right, Walmart employee, during his shift over the weekend. Carter was arrested and charged with first-degree murder for killing the teenager. Here are the events that led up to the attack. Based on court records obtained by WIFR, Carter told investigators that he went to the health center, Rosecrans, for help. He was initially denied treatment until he said he was going to kill himself. Hospital staff then transported him to another facility, UW Health Swedish American Hospital. He was released, again, without care. And a black star with the details. Well, that's when he went to the Walmart where Jenkins worked. Carter was captured on video with 2 knives, giving all of the African American people dirty looks, according to a report. Surveillance video reportedly shows Carter grabbing a silver kitchen knife and a red hunting knife from the store. Witness, who is also an employee at Walmart, said she heard Carter using a racial slur before Jenkins screamed inside the store. The attacker reportedly stabbed Jenkins while his back was turned, violently inserting the knives into his lower back. When officers from the Rockford Police Department arrived at the local retail chain around 6 p.m. on Sunday, they found the victim with a life-threatening stab wound to the back. Jenkins was taken to a hospital for treatment, but succumbed to his injuries. Police said Carter and the victim did not know each other. Police say the investigation is ongoing. Nothing short of heartbreaking. A teenager hard at work, randomly stabbed to death by this man. In these cases, Jackson, perhaps because I'm a mother, I gotta blame somebody. Someone is to blame. This could have been prevented. What say you?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, when you see situations like this, often they're littered with opportunities to have been for something to have been prevented. Even if you look outside at different types of domestic abuse situations that end up leading up to murder, it could be incident after incident where police often just whatever. They don't really put forth any effort to do anything about it because the person calling in is a nobody who gives a damn. But this man clearly was a menace to society, and he took the life of somebody who had their whole life ahead of them. When you're 18 years old, you're a child. You're so far away from even knowing who you are. You don't know how your adult life is even going to shape out to make you who you're going to be. So that's really what makes this the saddest thing. But again, oftentimes you see that people are either let go, let out, or just whatever. He's not going to do anything, and they end up doing something.
Resources aren't being allocated properly. People are being ignored even when they show up in crisis, even sometimes when they indicate what they will be doing. Just released back, it's our problem to deal with. Well, we want to, but there's not a respect for mental health awareness and mental health treatment in this country, no matter what anybody tells you, okay? And while we're busy being forced to argue about nut job things like anti-wokeism and DEI, real world problems persist. He went to the hospital. He was at 2. And yet he ends up at Walmart, stabbing a teenager twice in the lower back, killing him. Does anyone care if a tree falls in the forest? Does anyone hear it? I'll let you button it, Jackson.
Well, and two, like if the disparity with, the cop who lost his life in New York, and now, recidivism. But for stuff like this, you don't really hear that. You don't hear it. And two, as you pointed out, oftentimes people are dealing with mental health problems that make them just unstable. They need help. A lot of people out here need help. So yeah, if it was a police officer, maybe we'd be talking about recidivism. Maybe we'd be talking about it, but he wasn't. He was just an 18-year-old black.
Yeah. As soon as and I hate the term, I don't see color, but as soon as we see the humanity in marginalized people, gee, we love our kids too. Gee, we want big things and have dreams too. Maybe some of this will change. I'm not hopeful. I'll never give up, but I'm not hopeful. I don't know why we saved this one for last, because now I'm going to leave the show angry. Okay? And I don't wish to be angry. I'm a happy gal until you tick me off.
Mark Robinson.
Oh, Mark Robinson. He called the Queen, Beyonce, a skank in social media post. I know you are, but what am I? Okay. Really, Mark? Yes, this is what he does. Per the root, North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's longstanding one-sided social media beef with Beyonce seems to have gone a little too far now, even for him. Even for him. During a series of rants over the last several years, Robinson insulted Beyonce's singing abilities, called her a skank, and said she was a Satan worshiper. She don't even know who you are, okay? But I'll go on. Robinson's post about the Cowboy Carter singer, other similarly inexplicable rants, began to slowly resurface after he launched his campaign for governor of North Carolina. And now that he's won the Republican nomination, it seems even more worthwhile to look inside the mind of the man who could soon be governor of the old North State. Well, if we look inside that mind and say, hello, hello, I assure you, it will echo right back to you. It's a very vacant cavity. That's my assessment. That's my assessment. 2017 Facebook post, Robinson wrote, person, Beyonce's a role model. Me, the only person that butt-shaking, devil-worshiping skank is a role model to is people who want a fast track to hell. You're so proud of yourself, aren't you? I bet he read it over and over again and chuckled. You know, those people who laugh at their own jokes, you know who they are. And I don't think we do them a service by giving them courtesy laughs. Why do a courtesy laugh? Let them laugh alone. Keep a straight face. I do. Someone says something inappropriate in the workplace. Once had a boss who threw down Oreos in the middle of the editorial meeting that morning and said, happy Martin Luther King Day. I gave him the mean mug. He knew he'd have to deal with me later. A fool. I don't believe in courtesy laughs. This guy laughs at himself. Okay? Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, I assure you, laughs at his own jokes. In another 2017 post, he not only attacked Beyonce, but also Colin Kaepernick. Favorite target. This is what happens when a liberal sports magazine invites a devil-worshiping fake singer to give an award to a hypocritical fake social justice warrior who took a knee for a fake cause. Now, see, what he's doing here is, again, I'm not a psychologist. I don't argue with narcissists, but I'm going to tell you why. There's nothing in it for me. So I ignore them, which really ticks them off. When a narcissist wants to engage and feed off of you as their source, drain you, you just don't engage. This guy just won the Republican nomination. 2019 post. Robinson inserted himself into the Change My Mind meme, stating her music sounded like satanic chants. Seriously, her songs sound like they say stuff like Satan laughs as you rot in hell. If you play them backwards, super weird. No, Mark. What's weird is you're playing the songs backwards. That is very strange. Why are you playing Beyonce's songs backwards? Maybe you're not playing them at all. Maybe there's a voice that's telling you these things. I'd have more respect if that were the case. Trump-backed candidate. The Root notes that Robinson also had smoke for her husband, the rap mogul, Jay-Z. Writing in 2016, Jay-Z teaches our young men how to be foul-mouthed thugs, and his wife teaches our young men to be hypersexual whores. I guess y'all are okay with that, and so is Hillary Clinton. And you're gonna bring Hillary in it. Why is Hillary part of this? She's minding her business, upstate New York mostly, wearing pantsuits. Why are you mentioning Hillary Clinton? Okay. As we reported prior, Robinson won earlier this month the GOP primary race for governor shortly after his endorsement from Donald Trump. Robinson is facing Democratic Attorney General Josh Stein. General election is in November. I would go for the white guy if I lived in North Carolina, okay? It's just what I think, because I'm gonna look at the platform. And the platform says, one, doesn't like himself very much. Probably doesn't like his mother, father, siblings, if they look like him. And it's really a self-hatred thing here. Self-hatred. November showdown. Stein was endorsed by current Democratic Governor Roy Cooper last year. While Stein is slightly ahead in recent polling, the race we went through this in Georgia. There was the werewolf candidate. He talked about werewolves and vampires. He made no sense. And then you had very intelligent, been around a long time, full of integrity, Raphael Warnock, the good reverend. Do you know the werewolf candidate, Herschel Walker, almost won? People forget that, okay? He almost won. Remember the checks? The abortion checks? And he said he thinks abortion should be no more for any reason. This race in North Carolina, folks, is very close. One candidate is obsessed with Beyonce. I bet he has posters of her, okay? And if we were to run a check on his computer, and I'm not, the deep state, I'm not doing that, but I'm just telling you, he's Googling Beyonce every day. He probably knows the lyrics to every song. And probably, he probably dressed up in yellow and did the whole lemonade thing when that went out. That's what I believe, Jackson. My opinion, disclaimer, my opinion. I'll let you break it down. This brother got problems. He has problems.
Yeah, he does have problems. Mark Robinson looks like the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen from Dune. Like he just floats around in his chair. Like he's like Black Kirby from Nintendo. He just sucks things in and belches out nonsense and BS. Goodness. Like he's so ridiculous. Big, he just waddles around.
Yeah.
And then he goes onto a mic and he's like, women suck and everybody sucks. And
that's right.
Like, bro, it's if he weren't in the position he was in, you could kind of just roll your eyes at him because he's clearly just a loser. And by that, he's unhappy, he's miserable, he doesn't like himself all that much, and he just projects. You think, like you pointed out about Beyonce or any of these other skanks and hoes that he talks about or whatever. I guarantee you, he subscribed to all their accounts. He knows all their videos. It's a tale as old as time. But yeah, this guy is definitely problematic. And North Carolina, please, for the love of God, do not vote him in as your governor. Because if you do, not only is he going to cause problems, but we're all going to have to listen to him. And come on.
Yeah. And if you want to attend a Beyonce concert in North Carolina, he'll probably make that more difficult.
Right.
Well, now's the time to act. But I agree with you, Jackson. It sounds like you too believe he's obsessed with Beyonce.
Yeah.
Perhaps fantasizes about her. That's my only explanation for this kind of petty behavior. I would like to ask you one final thought before we get out of here. Do you have any explanation why he would be playing her music backwards?
Because he's weird.
Yes.
That's why. Because he's weird. Because he's just a strange dude. And, I think that he looks for different types of fundamentalist convictions that he can use to make himself permanently better than everybody else.
Yeah.
As if you don't think Beyonce is fine, because Beyonce is fine. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
it translates all genres, all colors. She's wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's just that's what he is. He's
Yeah. Not even worth Jay-Z's time to defend his wife. No. It's not worth it. And besides, the Beehive will take care. Perhaps the Beehive will get out the vote against him. That's all. She doesn't even have to release them. They go where needed. Yep. They handle things and they work together. They're busy bees. And I hope they do fly to North Carolina and handle this November. It'll be a little chilly, but I think they can brave it. Jackson, tell people where they can find you, all your wonderful ventures.
Yes, indeed. You can find me at Politics and Paper on YouTube, youtube.com/@politicsandpaper. I got daily streams. And I got some more fun, interesting programs that I'm going to start doing next week. I was doing it last year, but we're getting back into it because the springtime is among us. So Politics and Paper on YouTube. Check me out.
Yeah. And you know what I love about you? You're brilliant, insightful. You teach us. And you are appropriately confident. When you call yourself a sexy man, it's okay with me. And I support you, right? I support you because you've worked hard for the man you are And why not embrace it?
Why not? It's part of how I make money anyway.
Well, there you go. Well, you could just boil it down to cash. Jackson, thank you. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Ritchie for once again allowing us to sit in the seat. I won't say fill it, okay? I hope Doc doesn't review the programs afterwards. He just kind of lets us do our thing. And then if, you don't tell, he won't know some of the things that went on here. But we appreciate it. This is indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed. Sharon, one time I called myself Sharon Weed. I was a brand new reporter, just trying to do my job, but I was so nervous. I actually said, I was in Miami, I'm Sharon Weed. Now it's legal, okay? Anyway, I'm Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Until next time, if there is one, thanks for joining us.